A very warm welcome to our YouTube channel. My name is Maria and I am the owner and founder of the New Mummy Company here in Oakville, Ontario. Welcome back to all of our subscribers, and if you're new here, you are very welcome too. Today I'm going to be talking to the lovely Lucy Staves about reflexology, and in particular reflexology in pregnancy. Hi Lucy, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
And we're excited to have you. This is something I've wanted to chat to you about for quite some time. So I'm glad I've pinned you down and got into your schedule, because I know that you are a very busy lady.
Yeah, I'm quite in demand at the moment.
Which is wonderful. And I can say how wonderful your treatments are, because I've been there and done that and always really enjoyed them. They're always so relaxing.
Thank you. That's very nice to hear.
So for our viewers, can you introduce yourself and let people know a little bit about you, and maybe start off then with what is reflexology if somebody's not heard of it or maybe doesn't understand it?
Sure. I'll start off by introducing myself. So as Maria said, I'm Lucy. I am a reflexologist. I'm also based in Oakville, Ontario, just down the road from Maria. But if you can't tell from my accent, I'm from London, England. This is where I studied reflexology. I've been a reflexologist for about 5 years. Before that, I actually worked in marketing. And long story short, when I had my first child, I was finding the whole 9-to-5 career in London wasn't really working for me as a mum, and I decided to make a career change. I'd actually been having reflexology myself to help with some postpartum issues I'd been having, and also to manage my stress levels. From anyone who's ever worked in London will understand what I mean. But I was having reflexology, and long story short, I was just really fascinated by it and decided that I was going to take the plunge and change and have a more holistic way of life and become a reflexologist myself. I trained in London, but quite soon after I trained, I moved to Canada and set up my business in Oakville, Ontario. I've done some further reflexology training since I've been here. I trained with a great fertility specialist in Ontario called By the Moon, and I received my fertility and maternity reflexology training there this year. So that is kind of why I'm talking to you guys today, because I love working with anyone who wants to have reflexology, but my absolute favorite is working with pregnant people. So yeah. And then moving on to the second part of your question about what reflexology is, because I think it is gaining a lot of popularity, but it's still one of the lesser known holistic therapies. So just to explain what it is a little bit more. So reflexology is, it's a holistic therapy or a complementary therapy. And it's based on the principle that there are reflex points or pressure points in your hands and in your feet that relate to all the different parts of your body. So we believe that pretty much every major organ, gland, and body part has a corresponding point on your hands and your feet. And that we believe that by stimulating those points, we can help reduce stress and tension in the body, induce deep relaxation, activate that parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and repair state where you can do all sorts of nice natural healing. We believe that we can boost circulation, both of blood, but also energy around the body. And we believe that just by activating all of these points simultaneously, we can help just the whole body rebalance and realign and just support your natural healing system. It's for anyone who's had acupuncture before, it's a very similar principle in the sense that we're targeting specific points to have a reaction in the body, but rather than using needles, I use my hands. So I use a combination of massage and acupressure. If you've never had a reflexology session before, it's very nice and very relaxing. I think people, their biggest concern is is it going to be ticklish, because it's usually done on the feet, but no, it's not. It's very nice. You lay down in a nice, quiet, dark room. There's soft lights and gentle music, and yeah, I massage your feet and gently stimulate the different pressure points. It's a very pleasant experience. Lots of people fall asleep,
including me.
Yeah. I didn't like to say.
I'm not embarrassed to say that I was so relaxed during your treatment that I fell asleep. Yes, I did. 100% I did. And it's a very bizarre sleep when you have that sleep in a treatment room. Even though it's generally quite short, you do feel a lot more rejuvenated afterwards.
Yeah, it's I always get people saying to me that they're surprised how restorative just having their feet massaged and the acupressure done. Like a lot of people say like, wow, I feel as good as like if I'd had a whole body massage. And I'm like, yeah, your feet are important. Like they take in a lot of energy from the earth. So there's that side of it. They have more nerve endings than any other part of the body, but also they just do a lot of work. We're standing on them a lot, we're walking on them a lot, so just taking care of your feet can have a really beneficial impact on your whole body.
Yes, and I can't agree more, and I can't stress how wonderful and relaxing your setup is, because it's quiet, but there's lovely music, and it just is, it sort of ticks all of the boxes for a relaxing, enjoyable treatment. And I consider myself to have the most tickly feet ever. Having a pedicure is horrendous for me because I literally have to pin my legs down. But that is not the case with reflexology at all.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
So anyone who has tickly feet, don't worry, it's not a problem. So I guess we should stay on topic. Yep. we could go off on all sorts of tangents. In terms of the benefits of reflexology, let's answer it in two ways. The benefits of reflexology for Joe Public, but also benefits of reflexology for someone who is pregnant.
Sure. So everyone gets something different out of reflexology. It affects us all in different ways, but I would say the most typical reasons why people would come and benefits that they get for it are things like people who are stressed. So it's a great stress reliever. It's very relaxing. It helps reduce stress and tension in the body. So I would say that's a number one benefit, that people come in stressed and they feel less stressed when they leave. And if they're having the sessions regularly, they find that they're less stressed overall. Similarly, but slightly differently, people that suffer with anxiety. So especially over the last 18 months, I've seen a lot of people who are suffering with anxiety, more so than ever. And reflexology can really, really help with that. Like I will work to specifically target points that help to kind of gently release those stored emotions and fears that you're holding in your body. So again, similarly to the stress, like people feel less anxious when they leave. And if they're having the sessions regularly, they find that overall, like it's a good tool for managing their anxiety. Sleep problems is probably one of the biggest reasons why people come and see me. As you mentioned, a lot of people fall asleep during their treatment, which is great. Who doesn't like a little power nap in the daytime? But more than that, like having reflexology helps you sleep better at night. Like my clients that come in with sleep problems, they're probably the ones that come in the most regularly. And they find that having those regular sessions, they find it both easier to fall asleep, but also to stay asleep. A lot of us, especially parents, find that we get woken in the night. So with best intentions in the world, like you can still find yourself waking at night. But if you are investing in holistic therapies like reflexology as part of your overall sleep hygiene plan, you can find that if your child or baby wakes you in the night, it's easier to fall back asleep afterwards, rather than finding at 4 a.m. you're just wide awake while your baby's back asleep, which is the most frustrating thing in the world. So yeah, it helps with sleep. And then a lot of people as well I see that are having hormonal issues, so it can help a lot with hormonal balance. People that I see, a lot of people who are trying to get pregnant, obviously a lot of people that are pregnant, so there's lots of benefits there, which I'll go on to in a bit, but yeah, definitely there's a big fertility piece. And then I would say the other most common reason why people come in is to help with digestive issues. Like reflexology can help a lot with digestive problems that people are having, especially ones that are triggered and exasperated by stress. So to answer the second part of your question, which is around what are the benefits for people that are pregnant, I'm going to start by saying like there's different benefits at all the different stages, but I would say overall, reflexology is a great therapy for people who are pregnant on two levels. One level, it helps ease a lot of the physical symptoms and aches and pains and changes in our body. So there's that side of it. At the most basic level, pregnant women often get swollen and sore feet. So having reflexology during your pregnancy can help with that. But another big piece is the emotional side of it. Like we go through such an emotional roller coaster when we're pregnant, and reflexology really kind of helps support you through all of those different changing emotions. It's kind of a space for me to take care of you. So it helps a lot on that level as well.
Wonderful. So it's just, you're like a magician is what you're telling us.
Yeah, pretty much.
So when it comes to having reflexology, sometimes with pregnancy, you're told to wait until after the first trimester, or, there's certain times that you should start things or you shouldn't start things. When is it safe to have reflexology in pregnancy? Is there any times that you maybe wouldn't have it? Is there specific times that is better to have it than others? I know that's quite a few questions, but I guess we're sort of looking at the safety around having reflexology, because again, a lot of people are hesitant with alternative therapies, complementary therapies in pregnancy, maybe because they just don't know enough about it.
I think that's a huge part of it, to be honest. So I would say, in terms of like the first part of your question about when you should start reflexology, like ideally start it when you're thinking about getting pregnant. Start it right at the beginning. It is a great way to like prepare your body and yourself for pregnancy. Just make sure that your period's regular, like your hormones are in check, like your overall wellness is really good, so that you're kind of going into your pregnancy is in the best position that you can be in. So that would be the ideal situation. As soon as you start to think, you know what, I want to start a family, start your reflexology or whatever like alternative therapy that you're comfortable doing with, like that's the best time to start it. It doesn't always happen that way though. So
no.
Yeah. So to answer the second part of your question around like when is it safe to have reflexology, honestly, it's safe at any stage of your pregnancy for most women. I think going back to what you said about like people not understanding enough about it, I think that's a general issue for any holistic therapy, even massage. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there about you shouldn't have these kind of therapies in your first trimester. I understand why, but to be totally honest, like I think it's a lot to do with the therapists themselves. Like most therapists don't feel comfortable treating someone in their first trimester, because that, in all honesty, like it is the most sensitive part of your pregnancy. A loss is most likely to occur, unfortunately, in those first few weeks of your pregnancy. And a lot of people just would rather stay away and just let things be during that stage, which I completely understand. And a lot of women feel that way as well. Like they just want to just kind of have that time to do it. I'll talk about it a bit more, but it's unfortunate because actually the first trimester is like one of the best times to have someone take care of you in that way and look after your body. It's often the time where you just feel your worst and you're most anxious, and having something like this is really, really good. When I was training, first of all, as a reflexologist, we were told like to avoid treating people in their first trimester. Honestly, not because there's anything that we could do that would cause any issues or any loss, but just from protecting ourselves as a therapist, because no one really wants to be in that situation where the worst thing happens and one of your clients does like lose a pregnancy, and you wouldn't want them to feel like, or you as a therapist to feel like, did I do something wrong? So in all honesty, when I first started working as a reflexologist, I would wait until people had reached week 13 for that reason. But since doing my fertility and maternity training, it's definitely given me a lot more confidence and belief in that actually there is nothing that I can do as a reflexologist or that reflexology will do for you that won't support what your body wants to do. If your body is, if this growing child and in your body are supposed to have like a healthy full-term pregnancy, then reflexology will only support that. I think there's a lot of fear around, and I've certainly had clients say to me that, well, can't certain pressure points stimulate labor? That is true, but only if your body is ready to go into labor. So I will see clients who are 40, 41 weeks pregnant and they're like, get this baby out of me. And yes, there are pressure points that I can target that can help with that. So there's pressure points in your brain reflex that will help release oxytocin, which if once the oxytocin's flowing, that can stimulate your labor, but only if your body's ready. Like, I can stimulate your uterus reflex and set intentions that I'm trying to encourage contractions, but again, only if your body's ready to. There definitely aren't magic buttons on your feet that I can put any woman into labor. Like, if there were, like, I would be a bazillionaire. Like,
yes,
you would. I would have a line of 40 plus week women, pregnant women outside my door. So that was a very long-winded answer. Yes, a lot of people do stay away from all kinds of holistic and alternative therapies in their first trimester, and I absolutely understand that, but I am very confident in treating people in their first trimester because I've had some extra training, in the sense that I have a better understanding than a lot of reflexologists about pregnancy and fertility and those kind of things. So I'm very happy to see people in their first trimester as long as they're comfortable with it.
So the message is you don't need to stay away.
No, absolutely not. No, but
which is wonderful news.
Yeah, and I hope that it will be one of those things that people will understand a bit more about reflexology and holistic therapies in the future and just be less scared of them.
Perfect. So in terms of benefits, is there different benefits in trimester 1 versus trimester 2 and then trimester 3? I mean, I can just, visually you also mentioned, the fact that your feet start to swell and you do pool fluid in your lower limbs as the pregnancy progresses. So I guess that's an obvious one in terms of things you can support, but I'm sure there's a lot more than that.
Yeah, I mean, at the most basic level, the reflexology treatment is essentially the same, like throughout your pregnancy. I essentially give the same treatment to you, but I will focus on different areas. I suppose one thing to point out is in terms of the treatment changing is definitely like you might start off lying down having your session, but as your pregnancy progresses, there will be the table will get raised so that you're in more of a seated position. There will be a lot more pillows involved to prop you up. I have a most ridiculous amount of pillows in my treatment room for my pregnant clients, just to make sure they're comfortable. But yeah, essentially the treatment is the same. I always work every single reflex point because I'm really looking at trying to do that whole body realignment and whole body healing. But definitely there are different symptoms and niggles and issues that people have at the different trimesters, and so I will focus on things a little bit more. So I would say, going back to that first trimester, I primarily focus on relaxation and stress relief and emotional balance. At this stage, like, people are typically like trying to accept that new reality that they're going to be a parent, whether the pregnancy was planned or not. It's still always that like I'm a parent, like even if it's the thing that you've longed for most in the world, like there is still some kind of accepting that new reality. So I definitely focus a lot on like emotional balance and calming any anxieties and fears and worry at that stage. From a more physical point of view, and this was kind of touching when I was like, actually why trimester 1 is like the nicest time to have reflexology, in addition to all that like mixed feelings and worry and stuff, like also that's the point where you kind of feel at your ickiest for most women. Like not everyone does, but most women experience things like heartburn, nausea, morning sickness, like I can help a lot with kind of relieving those things by focusing on your hormone reflexes and also your digestive reflexes. So there's that element to it. And then also the tiredness, like even if you're like some women aren't sleeping well during their first trimester for various different reasons. So as I said, reflexology can help a lot with sleep, but even if you're sleeping well, you're exhausted, like your body is doing some hard work during that first trimester, and reflexology can help a lot with like lifting your energy levels. So those are kind of the things that I would focus on. So calming your worries, but also tackling some of those the fatigue and sickness that a lot of women feel in their first trimester. By the second trimester, I'd say generally most women are starting to feel a lot better. That's the point where people are like, oh, she's glowing and she looks so wonderful. I know that isn't the case for everyone, but in most instances, like your morning sickness has faded, and you're starting to feel a lot better. There's also slightly less anxiety for a lot of people. They probably had a few checkups, like seen that everything is hopefully okay with the baby, had a few ultrasounds, those kind of things, listened to the baby's heartbeat, all those reassuring things. They may be feeling some movement and stuff. And I'd say this is the point where women feel good, but it's definitely not a time to stop having your reflexology or your holistic treatments. I would say that that's when we tend to get a bit more, as kind of the baby grows and our posture adjusts and you get more like aches and pains and things like that. Like that's when I would focus a bit more on like muscular tension relief and things like that. Some people might start to experience things like sciatica. Reflexology can help a lot with that, especially if it's like running all the way to your feet. Like it can help a lot with that for you. And then some people at this stage kind of start to experience some different digestive issues, like less of the nausea, but more of the like kind of sluggish digestive system as the uterus starts to grow and put some like pressure onto the bowels and digestive system. So it can help with, if any kind of digestive issues occur at that stage, it can help with that too. So I'd say that's probably what I focus more on in the second trimester. And then third trimester, so that's again when that like fatigue typically starts to set in again. Lots of people aren't sleeping well because they're uncomfortable and need to pee all night. So again, like if you're having these regular treatments and you're getting into that kind of easier to fall asleep, easier to stay asleep, easier to go back to sleep kind of things, then that can be something that we can focus on a lot again. Digestion, again, like by this point, like everything's shoved up or down like to fit your baby in. So people are having issues like breathing and like I said, pressure on their bowels. So I would focus a lot on those just to try and kind of ease that for you a little bit. That anxiety can start to kick in again, like it gets a bit more real. Like, not that I remember like with my first baby having that moment where I was like, I'm not just pregnant, like I'm going to be a parent. And like, so you start to like worry again about how that's going to change your life, whether it's your first pregnancy or whether it's your second or third, and you're trying to work out how that baby's going to fit into your life. So again, there's a big kind of emotional piece there. Again, working on trying to like lift people's energy levels. But also like at this stage, I think this is where like people appreciate the kind of comforting aspect of reflexology the most, like having like someone like me kind of mother you when you're preparing to be a mother. Like there's that caregiving aspect of it. So yeah, that's a huge piece. And then yeah, the other big thing that I do at this stage that shifts a bit, especially from like 36 weeks onwards, is where I would start to kind of help them prepare for their birth. A relaxed mum is 100% going to have like a easier, quicker and less painful pregnancy. And like so many of my clients have come back to me and said like, yeah, it was, I felt so much less stressed going into it. So everything just went more easily for me. So yeah, those are kind of the things that I would focus on and what the benefits would be at the different stages of pregnancy.
Wonderful. That was what I was just going to sort of get you to elaborate on, was sort of the benefits in terms of, you know, can it have that positive impact on the delivery, on the birth, and obviously you've talked about making somebody feel more relaxed. And I love that the expression of you being able to mother them so that they feel like, you know, they've invested in themselves and they're looking after themselves, because it's so easy to worry about the nursery and whether we have this item and this stroller, and, you know, worry about all of those aspects of what the baby is going to need, and we forget what we're going to need ourselves.
Absolutely. I think the other point to add about like benefits about your pregnancy is like people who have regular holistic treatments like reflexology throughout their pregnancy often find that it provides some preventative healthcare for them. Like they're less likely to have issues with blood pressure or issues with things like gestational diabetes. Yes, because of the reflexology, like there will be things that I will focus on to like help with blood pressure, but also like people that, again, it's a bit of a generalization, but people who are investing in regular holistic therapies generally make other like positive holistic changes in their lifestyle. Like they're more likely to embrace other holistic therapies and make like positive nutritional changes and things like that. So there's definitely a lot of kind of preventative work that you can do from having reflexology rather than just treating the symptoms as they pop up.
Right. And do you typically recommend it based on each individual person that you see, or do you typically recommend once a month, once every 6 weeks? Is there a sort of a schedule that is helpful?
Yep. So, I mean, people can come in as often as they like, but ultimately it's going to come down to like your time and your budget. I typically say to people, like, try and come in once a month throughout their pregnancy until they get to 36 weeks, and then step it up to once a week so that we can prepare for your labor. And that's the point where I would start like working as they go on and they're ready to have the baby. I would start working some points more and setting more intention of trying to get labor going. If that is your like intention for having reflexology, like I do have a lot of people that show up for the first time at like 40 weeks and they're like, please put me in labor. And that's the point where I'm like, look, I am not a magician. I know we joked about it earlier, but I'm not. Like, I can't just put you in labor. But if you've been investing in having reflexology throughout, it's much easier for me to do that work at that stage.
Of course. Yeah. Of course. So you mentioned budget, Lucy, and I'm going to assume that this is not a treatment that is covered by OHIP, but is it covered by extended insurance benefits?
Honestly, like most benefit plans don't cover reflexology, but
Okay.
Some do. I definitely have some clients that have reflexology listed on their benefits. I also have some clients that have a health spending account that they have more flexibility of what they can claim it on, and they claim it under there. But most don't. I believe that some people could be in a position where they could ask for it to be added to their plan, but in all honesty, most of them, no, they don't. I personally, like, I offer some packages of like 6 treatments that mean that it makes it a little bit cheaper. Like if people are investing in having like a series of reflexology treatments, it makes it a little bit cheaper for them to do it. And I think that's common for a lot of reflexologists as well. Like I'm definitely not unique in doing that.
Okay. So if you are planning to get pregnant, it's obviously something you could speak to your insurance company about to get it added in to see if it's possible to have the treatment covered.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So if somebody was looking to find a reflexologist, where would you recommend? We will obviously share your details and all of your contact information. But if somebody is not in Oakville, if they're not able to travel to us at this location, where would they be able to find a reputable source for finding a qualified or certified reflexologist?
Yeah, I think that's really important what you've touched upon there. Reflexology, one of the main reasons why reflexology isn't listed on most people's benefits plans is because we're not a regulated industry. Stuff like massage therapy, acupuncture, generally they're regulated services. So in most instances, you obviously can find some people that are better than others, but in most instances, like you can't really go wrong with an RMT because you know they've had a certain level of training. Reflexology is different because it's not regulated. So the risk with it is that you could find a reflexologist that's just kind of learned themselves through YouTube videos and has set themselves up as a reflexologist. So what you want to look for is someone that has voluntarily joined an association. So for Canada, there's Reflexology Association of Canada, or RAC, which is what I'm a member of. So I would definitely look at whether someone, if you're in Canada, whether someone is part of Reflexology Association of Canada. They will have a directory on their website that lists all the different people that are members. There's also in Ontario, there's the Ontario College of Reflexology, which again is a really reputable source. Both these places will check that if you want to be a member, they will check your qualifications to make sure that you learn from a reputable person and had your proper training and did all your, we have to run course, we have to learn obviously to be reflexologists, but we also learn a lot about anatomy and physiology, and we also have to do a certain number of case study treatments before we're allowed to be qualified. So you'll know, if you go to Ontario College of Reflexology or Reflexology Canada, you'll know that you've got a good reflexologist. In the UK, in case we have any UK people watching, there's the AOR, or the Association of Reflexologists, which again, they'll have that same directory. I was a member of them when I was in the UK.
Wonderful.
I'm not as sure about the US, but I could probably look it up.
Okay. And I guess one last question then with regards to how people make appointments. Do they self-refer? Do they need a referral from their doctor or their obstetrician or their midwife, or can they just contact a reflexologist directly?
No, they can just contact someone directly. I would say if people have certain like high risk conditions, your reflexologist might ask for either for you to check with your doctor that they're happy for you to have reflexology, or they might in some instances ask for a note from your doctor, but it's unlikely they would ask for a note for your doctor. But sometimes people will ask you to check with your doctor. There's definitely like times when I wouldn't treat someone, for example, anyone who showed up who was bleeding or in pain or anything like that, like I wouldn't treat them, and I would refer them to their doctor to have it checked out and then make sure that they came back to me afterwards. But yeah, in most instances you don't need a referral from anybody.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I think we've learned an awful lot about reflexology today. Thank you so much for joining us, Lucy.
Oh, no, thank you for having me.
I hope you have enjoyed our conversation today. I know I have, and I will, as we mentioned, put all of Lucy's information down below so that you can contact her if you want to find out more information about working with her, or just understanding more about how Lucy can assist you in any of the modalities with regards to whether it's pregnancy or fertility, or even postpartum, and everything and anything beyond. So, and I can vouch for her because I have had the privilege of enjoying her wonderful, wonderful treatments. If you've enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to share in the comments down below, let us know if you have been to a reflexologist. Did you experience tickly feet, or am I right in saying that it doesn't cause any issues for those of us with tickly feet? Or did you use a reflexologist for your pregnancy, or maybe you used a reflexologist to help you recover in postpartum? We would love to hear from you. So from me and from Lucy for now, it's goodbye, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.